Barkeep, a man could die of thirst in this pub. Somebody buy me a pint, please. Well, hello out there, everybody, and welcome to, what is this now, episode 5, believe it or not, of the Empty Pockets podcast with Skip Healy from here in beautiful Wohlen, Switzerland. Tonight, some tremendous musical guests. Finally, some traditional music on this damn pod. I know all you people have been waiting for it. We got a couple of great musicians, a couple of great friends of mine from Derry over in Northern Ireland. Great fiddle player, Josie Nugent, multiple All-Ireland champion, and her wonderful husband, Mr. Brian Stafford, also a past All-Ireland champion, playing the uilleann pipes. Some of you may not be familiar with this amazing instrument, but Brian will tell us a little bit about it later. Guys, welcome to the Empty Pockets podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to see you again.
Yeah, great to have a chat. It's been a long time since we crossed paths.
It's been a few years. I used to promote, just so everybody knows our common background a little bit. I used to book a festival for a few glorious years over here in Avanches, Switzerland. And I brought Brian and Josie over a couple of times to play at the festival. They then brought me over to Derry to play in a performance at the All-Ireland Fleadh in, Jesus, was that 2013?
It was.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's 12 years ago.
Jesus, my God. Where does the time go?
Indeed.
Yeah.
So Brian and Josie have an interesting background. Josie comes from County Clare originally, down in the Republic of Ireland, and Brian was born up in Derry in the north. So we have a great mixture of southern and northern music coming your way tonight. And Brian, I know, does a lot of searching through dusty old manuscripts to find wonderful music. So he's quite the historian. If you want to know something about traditional Irish music, that's the man to go ask.
Yeah.
So we're going to get some wonderful tunes for them throughout the course of the night. Bit of a chat about whatever comes up. And I just hope you enjoy the program as much as hopefully we're going to. So I'd like to start off a little bit with a tune.
Okay.
If you have a wee jig or reel, whatever you feel like playing, what do you think it might be?
Well, we decided we'd start off playing a couple of reels. I originally got both of these from the playing of Liam Flynn, another great uilleann piper who sadly passed away some years ago.
A lovely man.
So the first one is called Bonnie Ann in Scotland, or just plain Bonnie Ann. And the second one after that is Jenny's Wedding. The first one I learned relatively recently. The second one I've known since the beginning of time. Okay.
Okay. Right.
Well, that was a lovely selection. You've lost none of the skill in the 13,000 years since I saw you guys last time. So, Josie, I want to talk about your background a little bit. Coming down or now coming up from County Clare. Um, I understand you had Tony Linan as a fiddle teacher early on.
Yeah, Tony was my first fiddle teacher. Yeah, I was very fortunate to have such a good teacher, and I learned a lot by ear. Everything he taught was by ear,
Hmm.
and he just expected you to pick up everything in the tune. So, okay, that's what I did, and it was the best, as I always say, ear training exercise ever,
Yeah.
and it has stood by me for the rest of my life. And I was also fortunate to play with people like Francie Donlan, who would be from East Clare, and my neighbour, Jack Mulcair. These are the people I probably played more socially with.
Mhm.
And that gave me an interest or a love of kind of East Clare music as well. I've got, on top of the fact that I have a relative called Martin Nugent,
Ah.
who played fiddle, and he was from East Clare, and he actually in the very early days influenced Paddy Kenny quite a lot.
Oh, wow,
There's
geez.
nothing really known much about that, but an Australian academic has dug that out more recently. And I was like, oh, right. So he he had an influence on one of the big players in East Clare,
Uh-huh.
basically. That was quite nice to know. So yeah.
Hmm.
So there's a little bit of Easter there. My mum's side of the family, her grandmother played the concertina. Every
Oh,
house
wow.
in West Clare had a concertina back then.
Mhm.
And she used to love when my sister and I went to visit the home place in West Clare and we'd play tunes. My grandmother loved that. So we
Great.
have a little bit of music coming from both sides, through the scene or music passed on from mouth to mouth, really, yeah.
Mhm. It's great to grow up with it in the family like that. Geez,
Yeah.
all the influences you're able to have that way is really an amazing advantage.
Yeah.
My daughter Abigail, she's 10 years old now, and
Oh,
playing the piano. I just sent you
right.
from her concert last night a video, but she's also on the fiddle. She's got about a half dozen tunes now.
Great.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and a very funny thing happened. Just before the broadcast, it's basically bedtime for her now,
Yeah.
and I went and I talked with her, and I said, Josie, uh, her one of her early teachers was this man Tony Linan, and actually the music shop we rent Abigail's fiddle from. There's an Irish guy, Stephen,
Mm.
that works there. And I have a session. This is my shop, by the way. This is where all the flutes are built. So I have a session in here the third Saturday of the month.
Mm.
And Stefan gave Abigail a CD of Irish fiddle music, and it's Tony Linan.
Right. Class.
Excellent.
Class. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the one time I used to see Tony, I used to play out in St. Louis. There, maybe it's still there. Well, St. Louis is still there, but there was a pub called McGurk's
Right.
that was a really great place. Accordion Joe Burke used to book most of the music in there for years and years. But Tony was living in St. Louis at that time,
All
working
right.
at St. Louis Airport.
Oh,
And he always used to come to the sessions. He was in there because there was music every night, some stage performance every night, and then there was always,
mm.
crack until 2 or 3 in the morning. Michael Cooney, the piper from Tipperary, he was also uh, living in St. Louis at that time. So that's when anytime I went out there, I always used to run into Tony. Just what a lovely man,
Yeah.
lovely playing on the fiddle, very unassuming, just just sat there and would play the tune and kind of, expected you to know it. And if you didn't, he just went into another one.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
very, very nice. But I was just telling Abigail what a small world
It
this
is.
this traditional Irish music is, especially once you start traveling around
Mm.
Mm.
a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you got into competitions for a bit with All Irelands and everything.
Yeah, there was a winter competition called Sloga, and I won my first All Ireland when I was 14 years old, which was quite a big thing for me. And that was in under 16 because I was against older musicians.
Wow.
And I went on to win a few three slope All Irelands, and then with the Flas I won duets, and we did the groupie cure was the big thing in the Fla for my sister and I and others, because back in the day you created your own groupie cure, means small group.
Oh, okay.
Group of music. And so we had a groups of 4 and 6, and we won All Irelands with very small numbers in our groups, but we put the music together ourselves.
Nice.
So that was very rewarding for both my sister and myself. And we
Mhm.
won a senior trio All Ireland actually at one stage, which we'd kind of forgotten about. But we did.
Well, I mean, you win so many, you can't keep track of them
Yeah.
all after a while. I mean,
So
not enough room on the
lucky.
wall for all the medals.
Yeah, that's very true. You don't. Yeah. So we had quite a positive time competing over the years, and
That's good.
but I think there's also it gives you a standard
Yes.
to aim for. But I think it's nicer to see the bigger picture and to have enjoyment through performance as well.
Hmm.
Which can be often much greater and much more fun to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Now, your sister Mary's plays the flute, I
It
believe.
does, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you gave me a CD, Hills and Hollows.
That's correct. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, very nice, lovely stuff.
Yeah.
And for yourself, Brian?
Well, I come from a background that has no particular or probably no history at all of traditional music, but I I started listening to traditional music, the groups like Planxty and so on in the early 70s, and during my early teens, and the first time I ever came across pipes was actually on TV, being played by Finbar Fury, and
Oh, geez.
my my immediate reaction is, "Those are great. I've got to play those."
That was my first reaction when I
Yeah.
heard Matt Malloy.
Exactly. And so I had no idea where you got these things or anything like that. So somebody had said it was, a good idea to take up tin whistle in the meantime. So I started playing tin whistle, which I quite enjoyed the process of learning that, because like most people in my generation, I had to play recorder at school, which
Yeah,
I always think was designed to put you off music
exactly.
permanently, but it didn't quite succeed.
Yeah.
So I played tin whistle for a bit, and then by uh, uh, just total chance, really, my dad had come home from work one day, and he'd obviously asked around, and anyway. One of the people he worked with, it's, oh, my husband plays those, and
Oh,
it turned out, um, it was Patricia McLaughlin who married to Finbar McLaughlin,
okay.
a great Derry piper and pipe maker, and
Hmm.
in fact, he made the instrument I play. But
The pipes you still have, the pipes you're still
yes,
playing.
yes.
Wow, there you go.
So
Good investment.
so this set will be, I think it's just shy of being made 50 years ago now, but
Jesus. That's a great
um,
old song too, 50 years ago.
yeah, indeed. But the best laugh of all about it all was Finbar was literally living about a quarter of a mile down the road from from where I grew up. So, I got onto it, and so I got a practice set, which is the bellows bag and chanter. Started going out to sessions in Derry, and at that time we would have been surrounded by great musicians. So basically, amongst people round about my own age, there's myself, Dermot McLaughlin, Joe McHugh, um, Paddy O'Neill, Gary Hastings was living in Derry at the time.
Mhm.
So of those of us at that stage of life, I would say we were all of a standard, perhaps, and
Mhm.
and then the older players were great as well. So you had the likes of Denny McLaughlin used to come down to Derry from time to time for for sessions in the Guidor Bar. I would have originally met Seamus O'Kane
Yeah.
through the sessions in Masons and so on. Seamus used to run me home from the sessions.
Did it?
Yeah. So
He's a great man.
yeah, so it was it was actually a brilliant time to be in Derry learning music at that time. Michael Carey, great whistle player, was around the scene at the time, and then we all kind of hit university age, I suppose, and gradually moved on. And also during that time, I would have met people like Cahill McConnell and Len Graham.
Oh yeah.
Len used to mind me when we headed out to Flass.
Did he mind you or did you mind him?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a good crowd of people.
Sounds like amazing.
Yeah.
You both were just so surrounded by such great music.
And,
it's fantastic.
And then when I went to university in Leeds, and then I met players like Mike Hurley and Des Hurley. So
oh yeah, Des Hurley.
It was a session in England, but really it was a Mayo session.
And you, Karen?
Yeah, and I met Karen Tweed at Leeds as well. So these are all people I've known more years than I care to admit.
Yeah, we're all getting around that age now, it seems. I'm brushing up against 70 myself. I don't know. If I knew I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself,
Yeah,
But you also had a hand in Welsh music.
I did, yes. So during the early 80s, I got approached by the band Huntus. Mike Leese had left the band at the time, and they were looking for somebody else to take over. So I, being kind of young and brash and not knowing any Welsh music at all, decided,
Details.
why not? I'll give it a shot. I've actually forgotten most of what I learned at that time, but I still have one or two bits of it tucked away at the back of the mind,
Great.
That was great because we used to do gigs across Wales. I had a lot of fun with that.
Okay, so this is the band. I was going to ask you for help with pronouncing. I'm used to words having one or two vowels in them.
Yes.
So this band, the spelling, just for our friends watching the show, is YR, first word, and second word HNWTWS, something along those lines.
Yeah.
And that's pronounced your Huntus.
Huntus. It's
Brilliant. Well, could you
a slightly derogatory term that North Walians use for South Walians? I think it literally means people for the beyonders, people beyond. In turn, the South Walians refer to the North Welsh as gogs, which is gogs.
Well, that doesn't sound good in any language.
Shortened from Gogleth, which is the Welsh for north.
Oh, Jesus. So the people that are listening to my podcast, a lot of them are fans of traditional music. A lot of them come from my background of American fife and drum music. And others are just people tuning in to see what's happening today. So I think a good amount of people have never seen the uilleann pipes before.
Sure,
Could you give us a short explanation of this incredibly complicated instrument?
Well, yeah, so I guess the first thing to point out is that uilleann pipes are bellows blown. So the bellows is under the right shoulder. That acts as a means of getting air into the instrument. Then, as in common with most other bagpipes, you have the bag
Mhm.
And then the chanter, where you play the melody, is pitched. This particular set is pitched in D, plays a scale of D major. And unlike most other bagpipes, the chanter can actually be overblown to play a second register. So you've got a full range of just slightly over 2 octaves, if the reeds are in a good mood. And so then you have an arrangement of 3 drones. I'll see if I can get this into the visuals. So,
oh, that's beautiful. That's perfect. Yeah.
yeah. So the short one is the tenor drone. The chanter is a double reed and a conical bore. The drones are single reeds and straight bores. So the tenor drone plays the root note of the chanter. Then the longer one, the baritone drone, is an octave down, and then the bass, which has the whole trumpet section on it, the 2, you can see the 2 twists. If I hold
So
it
this
right,
is a way of elongating for
basically,
the
yes,
listeners that
yes.
you get a longer tube this way so you
Yeah.
can get down to a deeper tone.
Yeah, so it plays 2 octaves down from the chanter's tonic. So, but then the next feature is that you have 3 regulators, which are these keyed pipes. And the idea there is that you can play a simple harmonic accompaniment to it. It's between the bass regulator and the tenor regulator, the middle one, the bass and the baritone regulator is a difference of a fifth, and then from the baritone to the tenor regulator is a difference of a fourth. So you're not really getting true chords with it, but it's I kind of quite like the fourthy sound to it.
Yeah.
And I can't answer why they're called regulators, but it turns out that since the idea was invented, even in the oldest literature going back to 1700s when the idea appeared on the ancestor of this instrument would be pastoral pipes, or just basically known as the pastoral, which had a single regulator. The oldest documentation on that still calls it a regulator, but
Yeah, well, there you
knows
go.
why the name was chosen.
Very good. So to recap all that, you're pumping air in with this. You're doing this on the chanter.
Exactly,
you're keeping the pressure up so the drones work, and you're bashing on the other things.
Yes,
and it all makes a beautiful sound at the
fingering
end.
the chanter with your right hand.
Well, exactly. So very, very simple. And I mean, just,
yeah, it's
nothing to it.
Very early on, I thought I would just try the fiddle, but it was much too complicated for me.
Well, I like to do, that's a fantastic explanation. Thank you. I like to do a little feature in the show called The Tune and the Tip.
Right.
Since we're talking so much about the pipes at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you have a tune you'd like to play for us? Just, something short. It doesn't need to be really long. Where you can demonstrate maybe the chanter, then bring in the drones and then a little regulator on top so we can try to hear the cacophony building.
Yeah. So probably best idea is then I'll play a few bars of if I play a hornpipe, I'll play a few bars in the chanter, then I can bring drones on, and then hopefully I'll stay in shot and you can see
Great.
the regulators in action.
Wonderful.
I can move over a little bit.
Yeah, it might be an idea
if he moves more central.
Nice.
Yeah, now you can see more.
That's beauty. That's perfect.
Yeah. So can you put it back?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Now, what we have to do is, I'll just explain while Josie is leaping around a bit here. They're using two different microphones. There's one microphone we're using for the audio, and now Josie is switching that one off, and now she's turning a different one on that works better with instruments because we were getting a lot of echo from the one microphone earlier. And look at that.
Yeah.
I can stall with the best of them.
I'll quickly check tuning. Okay.
Lovely. So I play the pipes a bit, also nothing like Brian, and I can tell all of you viewers out there, you could hear when Brian played only the chanter, and then he kicked in the drones. That so changes the pressure that you have to go from bellows to bag back and forth, because now you have four separate reeds, and they all function within a very, very small air compression of each other. So it's very challenging to get the drones working. And then trying to do the regulators on top of that, that's sucking even more. And never mind the coordination it takes to do all that. Just feeding the beast is a job in itself, because it gets very unhappy very quickly if it's not getting fed the proper amount of air. That's a lovely job, Brian. Thank you very much.
So yeah, it's always a wee bit awkward when you're trying to make a point of doing.
Yes.
You're not in your usual flow, but
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's a total of 4 double reeds and 3 single reeds.
Yeah, and that's a lot. And also the way I've always thought with your playing, you remind me of the pipers that I've heard the horrible recordings from back in the 1920s, Tansy and Felix Doran, that had the silver set of pipes, which I actually saw in Derry. I saw that old set of pipes there.
I've played them.
Yeah, I'm sure if they were that close to you, I'm sure you got your hands on them.
Yeah, they belong to Phil Moloughney, whom I see from time to time, and
yeah.
He has Doran's Rosum set.
Oh wow!
And he also has the metal set that was made for Felix Doran. So,
yeah. It was amazing to see.
The metal set is very strange.
Oh, it was wild, but it was amazing to see such a historic instrument. That I'd read about on an album jacket 30 years before that, and then to sit there and see the actual instrument was really something. Well, there you go. Some great music out of Josie and Brian. I hope you're enjoying having them on the podcast this week. Remember, in 2 weeks, Brian is going to be featured in the second half of this podcast. But now it's time for my little segment, the tune and the tip. And for this week's tune, I'm going to go back down to, I should say, Josie's home county of County Clare. We're going to swing over to East Clare, to a little village called Tulla. Now, there are lots of tunes in Irish music that are called the rakes of this or the rakes of that, or the lads from here or the lads from there, or the humors of this and the humors of that. This is one of those humors tunes. This is called the Humors of Tulla. Very, very widely played tune, very well-known tune. And for the tip, I'm going to show you a little something to do with tunes like this, if you just want to shake them up a little bit, keeping it very traditional in style, but just a little bit different sound. So here we go with the Humors of Tulla. And I've gotten a few, I don't get very many public comments, but people always write to me privately. Maybe they don't want to share their thoughts publicly, that's fine. I've gotten 2 questions a lot in the last couple of weeks. The first is, what am I looking at over here? Do I have the music on a stand or something like that? No, I don't. Reading music is not one of my best skills, so that's not something you have to worry about a lot for me, that I have music hidden someplace. Actually, what I'm doing is I'm looking over here at the flute, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm keeping the flute in frame so you all can see what I'm doing with my hands when I'm trying to teach you these tunes. And the second question I got a lot is, what is all of this stuff? One of my friends asking me if I've become a heroin junkie in the last months. No, I haven't, but thanks for thinking of me. I have a very severe problem with arthritis now, so my fingers aren't moving too well, and they're getting all, getting old. So one of the medications that I'm taking on makes it very easy to have all of these horrible bruises. If I just brush against something, all of a sudden I have a horrible bruise for a couple of weeks. So if it gets much worse, I'll switch over to long sleeve shirts. But no music, and no, I'm not a heroin junkie. So there you go. Off to the Humors of Tulla. So, pretty basic tune. It again follows this old formula that I was talking about, where there's an opening theme, there's a little bit of a bridge, goes back to the theme, into the second half of the tune, theme, bridge, big circle. Again, these tunes were largely written to be remembered, not as much learned off the page. Although, as Brian has told us, stuff's been written for a very, very, very long time, and he is the man who goes scraping all through all of these ancient manuscripts, finding cool new tunes, or cool old tunes, I guess. So to take a look at the tune, in G major, again, it has that basic little opening theme. Bridge. And back to the theme. into the second half. And then in the second half, where you keep having the long B's and long A, you can put in some rolls there, or you can put in some triplets there. Or you can try putting some rolls in there. That's the tip. Now the tip is a little thing called a modulation. And modulation is when you change keys. A lot of times we'll go from a tune that's in one key into a tune that's in another key for a little bit of excitement, so you're not just playing the same kind of series of notes over and over. What I did there was took the Humors of Tulla, often played in G, and put it in the key of D major. Now, that's something I've heard this tune in both keys for 40 years. It's hard to say who had the original idea to do it. It's just a nice thing to do. So to play it in D, you're starting on a D note. So then in the second half, where you were doing B rolls in the G version, now you're doing F sharp rolls in the D version, or you can play it in A major. G sharp in there. So there's an A major, so now you're putting a G sharp in there. You can do it with lots of tunes. For example, you can do it with the Kesh jig. lots of tunes you can do that with. Drops of Brandy, Fairy's Hornpipe, the Fox Hunt. There's a bunch of tunes that are played in 2 different keys. A lot of times the second key is A major. So a lot of those tunes started as A major tunes, possibly Scottish tunes. A lot of what we play in Irish music is A major tunes. If you slow them down and play them bouncy, they turn into Scottish tunes. Have some fun with it. What you can do is you could take, for example, the Kesh jig starting in G, play something in the middle. You can go down to E minor, you can go up to D, and then you end with a very bright A major sound on the end. So that's your tip today. Modulating tunes, putting them in a different key, and see what happens. It's kind of fun for your audience to listen to, kind of fun for you to play, and you can amaze your friends at the session with your musical abilities. See you soon, everybody. Thanks for watching the pod. Please subscribe, like it, come back and visit us again. Cheers now.